Tonight's thought. Accidentally called the past, and I got a disconnected message. It's the weirdest thing the other day. I had to call my dad for some reason. Just to say hello, I guess. Tell him about how my life's been going lately. And I picked up the phone, and without even thinking about it, I called his office number, which isn't really abnormal except for the fact that he's been retired and hasn't been into his office for something like 6 years. It's just strange. I picked it up. I haven't called that office number in years. It was whatever it was, 555-4490 was the number, without me calling his other number to talk to him. And I didn't even realize that I had called his office until I got this message, this like automatic voice recording that says, "We're sorry, the number you have dialed within this company has been disconnected. Please hang up or try again." It was so weird. That's what it's like to call the past. There's like nothing there. Yeah, and it really was very odd, and I know that, this happens, and I was actually thinking about this week. I was trying to find out, through a little bit of Googling, what the name of this effect is. It's like a neurological effect of some kind. I have heard about it in the past. I was unable to find out about it. In Google, this neurological just accident where you will recall information that you haven't needed in years. Just completely subconsciously, you'll just reach into your brain and pull it out of the blue, not even thinking about it. And I've heard of this before, but I couldn't find out what it was. If you know, let me know. But it was no doubt very weird, because I've often thought about how do we contact the past? How do we like reach through time and try and communicate with people back there? And I know that this isn't really something that we can possibly do. As a matter of fact, it's pretty damn impossible. Physicists say that you can travel through time. Like, that is theoretically possible. You get in some kind of a vessel and you go faster than the speed of light, and you can travel through time. Okay. We actually do have real ways of traveling through time. We have elevators. Before the elevator, the typical way of getting up to the top of the building was just walking up the stairs, or, I don't know, climbing up the side of the building if you were especially limber. I don't know. And it would take a certain amount of time, say like, 15 minutes or so, to go to the top of maybe like a 15, 16-story building, assuming that you were going up one flight of stairs per minute or something like that. That's very slow. You must be a very heavy person. But then they invented the lift, the elevator, and you could suddenly like condense that time that it took you to get up to the top of the building, and that's a form of time travel. And you're in a vessel and you're going forward in time. And here in Birmingham, Alabama, where I am right now. By the way, this is the Midnight Citizen Show from Birmingham, Alabama. We're live tonight. Thank you so much for joining me live. If you are here, if you are in the future, or in the past, you're still here with me live because our realities are synchronizing right now. Okay? So, welcome so much, and thank you so much into the studio here in Birmingham, Alabama. I am your host, Mike Booty. But yes, here in Birmingham, we have, in downtown, we have First Avenue South. And First Avenue South is interesting. It's different from all the other streets in Birmingham and all the other avenues because there are virtually no red lights. So I used to commute from my house in Crestwood to my job in downtown Birmingham, and to do this I would go through Avondale, and then I would get on First Avenue South, and I would basically jolt to work a lot faster than if I had taken Second Avenue South or Morris Avenue or First Avenue North. It would essentially be the First Avenue time warp, and that's what I referred to it as, is the First Avenue time warp, and I referred to it that way with all of my friends, and we all kind of joked about it. Yeah, it's it is. You get there and you travel forward and future. So we do have ways of traveling forward in time and advancing time in different ways, right? And I know that that's not technically time travel like we talk about it, but we can do that. But physicists agree that no matter how you sugarcoat it, you cannot travel back in time. It's impossible, time can only move forward. It cannot move backward. And this is painful, obviously, because I tend to like the past. I kind of want to go back there every once in a while, because the present is it's full of anxiety and paranoia, and in the past you may have made some mistakes, but you know what you did wrong, so you can kind of go back and fix those mistakes. So, it's a wonderful thing to go to the past, right? So, again, I don't know if in all of my research that I did on Google, I never found the neurological phenomenon that makes you access dead information, like the phone number of somebody who no longer has it. But I'd like to think that is a way that we can think about traveling back to the past. And this week I did that. I time traveled a little bit, and I did that because I dialed a number that is no longer in service for my dad. And what did I get? I got a disconnected message. There was no one there, in other words. And it made me think a lot about the Stephen King story, The Langoliers. And I think I probably referenced The Langoliers more than anybody in the world should. It's not one of his finer works, and the movie is pretty goofy as well. But that's the one where these people board an airplane that ends up being a time capsule that and that transports them to the past. And what do they find there? They find absolutely nothing. They find this dead space, dead matter. Matches will not strike. You open up a can of soda and it's not carbonated, and it's just a dead place. And it's a completely different way that we think about the past, because we tend to human beings tend to romanticize the past. They tend to sugarcoat their memories. They tend to erase the bad things that happened and glorify the minor things that happen and make them much better. They tend to make the women that they went out with prettier and nicer. For instance, they tend to make the jobs that they once had not full of misery and heartache, right? But this is not possible. That's what your mind does. And in reality, the past is a dead place. You can't go back there anymore, and it's just like a bunch of dead matter floating around, and disconnected messages on the phone. So I told my dad about this. It was so weird to hang up the phone and then call my dad's cell phone number and talk to him. And here he is in the present day. And I told him that what happened, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what happened?" And I said, "Oh, it was a disconnected number. They told me that you no longer work there, and that I should try somebody else." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's weird." So I thought it's so weird, and it also kind of made me sad a little bit, because someday, I'm going to accidentally call my dad's cell phone number, and he's no longer going to be there. And so it made me, in a weird way, kind of appreciate and treasure the present, right? It's a nice, sweet way to start out the show, even if it was a little melancholy. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, but I was looking at in this Psychology Today piece, in my research, just wondering who would like to travel to the future, because the future to me seems like that would be kind of boring. Like the future is essentially just going to be like what we have now, but kind of amped up on steroids. To me, it's like a no-brainer that you would just want to travel to the past. And, because of this whole rule that hindsight is 20/20, you would want to go back and change things, and you would want to take YouTube back to, I don't know, like 2012 or something, and just show people what's going on. But I was looking at this, and it's actually on Psychology Today. And it's remarkably evenly split. It's something like 53-47. 53 people would rather travel to the past, while 47 would rather go to the future. And it's oddly split, by the way, among the young and the old. Old people, for instance, would rather travel to the past. It says traveling to the future might be even more taxing on cognitive abilities, and so older people, relative to their younger counterparts, could be hesitant to travel to the future because it could simply be too overwhelming. And this is true, but at the same time, younger people, I think if they traveled to the past, like you think about that movie Back to the Past, right? The kid travels 30 years into the past, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. It's like he doesn't understand it. He can't even open up a bottle of Coke. I think kids would thrive in the future if they were to travel there. Interestingly enough, though, old people who are conservative would rather travel to the past. That's no big deal, or that's no big surprise. They would want to travel to the past because they're conservative and they like things the way they were, and they like the good old days and all that. And then liberals would rather travel to the future to see how things progress and are progressive. I don't know. Anyway, listen, I've talked about this too long, honestly. But it is interesting that I would honestly think that more people would rather travel to the past. I don't know, but apparently it's really, really a close call, very close. So, We are here in the summer. It is summer vacation. Of course, I am a teacher, and I do feel summer vacation quite a bit when the school ends. But it's not, and I was talking about this in the pre-show again, it's not really, teachers do not really have the summers off, at least not any that I know. We do a lot of things in the summer. And right now I am teaching summer camp. My wife and I are actually both teaching summer camp all through June. Now, I do know some teachers who are like, no, teach in the summer? Absolutely not. No. And they use it to like pursue other interests and things like that. But I don't know. Teaching in summer camp, it just seems like, it's like I already teach. It's a lot easier to do it. So, yeah, we do. And this week I taught a theater summer camp, and next week and the week after that I'm going to be teaching a summer camp then as well. And my wife is interestingly teaching a summer camp, and this is crazy, in the old Brookwood Mall here in Birmingham. Brookwood Mall goes all the way back in Birmingham to the, I'm going to say early 1980s. It's a really nice space. It's amazing. It's situated right there between two of Birmingham and really Alabama's wealthiest communities and most populated communities, Mountain Brook and Homewood. And that was the mall. I actually really liked going there almost more than the River Chase Galleria, the largest shopping mall in the Southeast. When I was probably in middle school, it just had a really nice vibe to it. It had a really cool atrium and food court. There was an awesome KB Toys there where I like first played the Super Nintendo. There was obviously a music land there where I would like go and get CDs all the time, and then we would have lunch at Sbarro. Sbarro wasn't one of those like just counters. It was actually like a full service like sit down restaurant where you would go in and you would get this these huge slices of pizza. I'd never seen pizza so big before. And Sbarro was a novelty, at Brookwood Mall there in the mid 90s. And now it's completely, it's more or less completely closed. They did a massive renovation around 2000 when the mall started to slip and decline in occupancy. And that was a really big deal. They had a lot of, they had full occupancy when they did their renovation. They completely changed it. It was like Dark City or something. You went in there in 2000 after they had closed the place for 2 years, and they had completely gutted the entire inside, the anchor stores, and it was the same location, but it was just a completely different building, and you're just completely unable to connect that a different structure used to be in this same shell, so yeah, they renovated the place in 2000, and of course, like every mall in my life, I did work there very briefly. Christmas of 2007, I worked at Brookstone selling those neck massagers that look like dildos. There's no other way to put it. I would have to like offer to massage people as they came in and like put this huge phallic flesh toned thing against their neck. It was really gross, but it's like, thank God it was only seasonal work, But yeah, over the years though, Brookwood Mall has just completely declined, and now they essentially rent space to anybody who needs it. You don't even necessarily have to have a storefront business. And lo and behold, this week my wife was teaching summer camp at Brookwood Mall in this space that the theater that she was doing outreach education. They rented the space, and I went in, and I think it's like an old Bath and Body Works or something like that. And just go in there. It's like a huge empty space now. But they've still got all these remnants from when it was a Bath and Body Works or whatever. They've still got these like counters and bar tops. There is all this furniture in there. You go in the back, and there's this moving shelving that kind of slides on rails. And it's just really fascinating to go in there to this place that I once essentially called home every Saturday afternoon when I was in middle and part of high school. And now my wife is teaching there. And my friend Dave and I actually were interested in possibly just renting a space there just to put some chairs in there and hang out and all that and just create this weird social club. No, it'd be more than that though. I mean, to have some place to store some stuff, some production equipment and all that. And I actually emailed this lady. We ran down a security guard because I called my friend Dave up. I was like, you got to come down and check this place out. You're not going to believe it. It's completely empty. There's 4 stores here and everything else is closed or it's being rented by the theater. You got to come check this place out because he's been looking for a place to kind of just house some production equipment. And so he came in and we walked around the mall and just looked in all the empty storefronts and looked in the empty buildings. And we went down to one end of the mall where there actually were still stores. I couldn't believe it. They were just sad little stores. I walked down and there was a shoe store and I saw this poor clerk just putting a box of shoes back on the counter and he heard the squeaks of my shoes coming around the corner, and he just looked back at me and it was that scene in Sweeney Todd with Mrs. Lovett, just be oh my God, a customer. I thought he was going to start singing to me and chopping up meat and serving it to me or something. It was just really weird. And there was this computer store that's been there probably since the early 90s. I don't know what they do in there. They sell you computers, I guess. You can still buy those in person. So we walked around and we tracked down this security guard. The security guard comes up to us, or we go up to him, and we tell him our plan, and he walks us to the security office, and we have to go on this long walk through this very dimly lit hallway with flickering lights, and he takes us to the security office, and then he just hands us a business card. And so I don't know if we'll be moving into the Brookwood Mall anytime soon, but it is fascinating to me. Just again, it's visiting the past. I did not intend to tie this into what I opened the show up with tonight, but it was a dead place. It was walking around and just being completely dead. And there, it's funny. There is a documentary that's been making the rounds recently called Jasper Mall, about this dead mall, or almost dead mall in Jasper, Alabama, and it actually has more occupancy than the Brookwood Mall. This small little country galleria out in Jasper, Alabama, actually has more occupancy than the shopping plaza in between two of the richest neighborhoods in Alabama. It's really wild, And so I can't make sense of that. But yeah, Jasper Mall is something that if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's really fascinating. It's about my people down here in Alabama getting by. Just a mall, a mall is an important place. It's a community. It's a communal space. And in Jasper Mall, I think you see that. You see these old people on oxygen, coming in their wheelchairs every day to play dominoes with each other. And it's sad and depressing, but it's still the point that it's a small town. Where else are they going to go to play dominoes? Jack's? They kick you out if you don't order anything. I don't know. But yeah, it is summer. Just watching everyone walk around wearing their summer clothes. And You know, I've never really been one for summer clothes. It's like, again, if you're watching me on the live stream, I am wearing a t-shirt right now, so my arms can breathe. But other than that, I'm a jeans guy. I really do not like wearing shorts at all, and I don't know what it is. I don't like wearing jeans or shorts. I don't like wearing flip-flops at all. Flip-flops bother me. Sandals. Anything that exposes my feet. I don't like that at all. Walk around. I think it's just like the soreness that you get between your toes. With that little rubber band there. It just like chafes. And I'm sure that there are things you can do. I'm sure... Listen, this is an annoyance of mine that goes back to childhood. I hated wearing flip-flops when I was a kid, and I have never worn any flip-flops since then, except for occasionally. Like, when I first met my wife, she gave me some flip-flops, and I wore those just to kind of make her happy and not start a fight, I guess. I don't know. But I just, I'm sure that flip-flop technology has come, like, a long way. But I don't care. I don't like them. I don't like flip-flops. And it's one of those fears that I constantly have of having to go to prison. Or like jail, I'm scared of going to prison. And it's not really because of like all the bad things that you associate with prison, like you see on Oz and things like that. I mean, obviously I'm scared of that. But like it really has to do, and I'm very serious here, I'm not joking around, it has to do with flip-flops. They make you wear flip-flops because I guess they're like afraid that you're going to like use the strings to hang yourself or something. I don't know how you can hang yourself with like a pair of shoestrings, but yeah, they make you wear flip-flops like with socks all day long. And even though I know that kind of cuts down on the feet chafing, it's just not a good look. It's not looking good. I don't like it. So but we are here in summer here in Alabama, and it seems like COVID restrictions are easing up quite a bit. This time last year you had to like wear a mask everywhere. And it seems like that's more or less coming to an end, although here in Alabama, I don't know if it should. Because, yes, we are in the Deep South, and we are in the South is going to rise again country. It's just the way it goes. There's nothing you can do to get around it. Everybody down here, like, nobody likes to be told what to do. And here in Alabama, something like only 30% of adults have been vaccinated. This vaccine has been out since early February, and only 30% of Alabama adults have been vaccinated. However, more or less, 100% of Alabama adults are walking around everywhere without masks on. So I went to Publix the other night, and I'm walking around. Nobody's got their mask on. Not employees, none of the customers, anybody. So I was just thinking about these statistics. I was like, by these statistics, that means like 7 out of 10 of these people are just lying. Oh, God. Yeah, and just like everybody has this look. Like I see it on my students when they've done something wrong. They're all walking around like they just got away with something. Like, I think I'm in the clear. Nobody's going to like make me wear a mask anymore. I didn't get vaccinated. And nobody nobody's going to ask me about it. So they wrote it out. Now they're free to walk around with impunity. Great. Oh. A friend of mine told me this week that he actually works with a former member of the Baha Men. You know the Baha Men? The, who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof. Yeah, no, he apparently, they were talking at work, and it just kind of came up in conversation. My friend looked him up, and it's like, no doubt, he used to be in the Baha Men. But he left the group before that song came out. So, and it doesn't seem like it's a sore subject. I asked my friend, is he bitter if you talk about who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof. And he was just like, well, he just smiles at everything you say. He's just a nice guy. So it probably bothers him, but, whatever. Not really. He did get to do, apparently, some of the music for the My Father the Hero soundtrack. You know that movie with Gerard Depardieu that they filmed in the Bahamas? It had original soundtrack album was by the Baha Men. But he left before that. I guess he got too big or something. I don't know. Oh, man. He left before their biggest song came out. He could be a billionaire. Whoo, boy. So, anyway. I don't know. I just had to mention that. So yeah, I stayed in at night this week and could have gone to the theater for the first time in over a year. I could have gone to the, I guess the drive-in, which would have been nice. It's summer, it's nice to go to the drive-in, but I stayed in. The incentive was too strong to just go ahead and watch a movie on HBO Max that I could have gone to the drive-in and paid $10 to see. I just didn't want to, though. So I saw The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. This is the third in the Conjuring film series. They make these Conjuring movies. There's a whole universe, because everything has a universe now. You got the Annabelle, the creepy doll. And The Conjuring, it's a series of films that are loosely based on something that's already bullshit. Ed and Lorraine Warren, these two paranormal investigators who more or less, it's really because of them that we owe every single show on the Travel Channel to. These just dorks who go in and have these spirit boxes that basically just scan through radio channels and, ask ghost questions. And, when I was at my old job, I was at a place that, had a lot of history, and I actually volunteered one night to walk a ghost hunting group around. And, they brought these spirit boxes. They brought all this equipment. They must have brought probably $2,000 worth of equipment, and they were just they were so nerdy. It's like, I get it. It's like a fun adventure thing. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ghost hunting, and it's really just an excuse to me to do some urban exploring, to go into some interesting places and find out the history. But some of these people take it way too seriously, and it's because of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They made a life, they made a living and a legacy off of essentially defrauding people and exploiting their weaknesses. And You know, it's because of Ed and Lorraine Warren, of course, that we know about Annabelle, and we know about the Amityville horror house. You know, they went in and did an investigation with the news station from New York of the Amityville house in Amityville, Long Island, and because of their investigation, it made the story like national, and the Lutz family was able to sell their story and make all this money. They essentially came up with it one night over a bottle of wine with the author, Jay Anson. I'm getting off track here, but yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren, though, basically were just con artists. And these movies, these Conjuring movies, make them out to be utter and complete heroes. And while I know it's fiction, there's nothing really all that wrong with it, I guess. I think there's something interesting to be said right now about why these films are so popular and why they keep making them. Primarily, what I'm kind of fascinated with, so the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, the movie is about a real-life case that happened in the early 1980s where this man killed his landlord, and he said that he was possessed by a devil. He literally told the judge, "The devil made me do it." You know? And I remember there was this film that we used to stock when I worked at Suncoast. It was "The Devil Made Me Do It." It was Andy Kaufman was actually in it. It was I think it was a Larry Cohen film. And it was like essentially an anthology film of all these people who like ripped from the headlines saying that the devil made them do something awful. But this is a real case that took place, and I thought the film was going to be a courtroom drama, and quite honestly, that would have been interesting. That's one of the reasons why I watched it, because it would have been a nice detour from the other films that were just essentially special effects, ghosts and demons and jump scares. This movie I thought was going to be a courtroom drama about the kid and who was eventually sentenced. He was essentially eventually convicted and sent away for 4 years. But it's an interesting case because it's one of the few times in American history where that plea deal was, or that what am I trying to say here? That confession was made that the devil made me do it, and it was actually accepted by the court. Okay, there we go. That's what I was trying to say. So he says this, and but the film just becomes another Conjuring movie. It just becomes about the Warrens, and no doubt there is a demon that's making this kid do terrible things, and it has to do with like somebody who's like placing these old Indian totems under people's houses that are like, I don't know what it's about, but you know. But the interesting thing is that I think these movies are so popular because they portray the Warrens as being these spiritual, badass warrior poets with God on their side who are doing, you know, battle against the dark forces of evil, like Beowulf or something like that. And everyone they meet who like is interested in science and who's interested in logic, they're portrayed as like not the bad guys but the obstacles. You know, everything that they do is seen as high and noble, and everything that the system does, you know, like scientists and police officers, is seen as stupid, is seen as farsighted and obtuse. And I think that's one of the reasons people like these movies right now, because there's no doubt that we are living in right now one of the most religiously, divisive times, perhaps in American history. And I think people like this stuff because it kind of affirms their beliefs that like there is a spiritual world that absolutely knows no rules and that knows no boundaries and will laugh in the face of logic and science and law. And I think that's one of the reasons why people like these films, is because the Warrens are the original science deniers. They made a living off of denying science and making the police and the scientists the bad guys, And it's interesting to me because this has happened within the last few years, because I feel like, of course, there have been films like The Exorcist and all that The Exorcist is very interesting about saying that the spiritual world deals on a completely plane of existence and indeed laughs at science, and I get that. The Exorcist was interesting. It was thought-provoking at the time. But like I kind of grew up in the 1990s watching films where the scientists were treated as the heroes. Movies like, Jurassic Park, and even like Dante's Peak or something like that. I don't know. Volcano. Movies where like the scientists were like the action heroes, and they were treated as interesting, not just because they like could leap into action, but because they were also very smart. And the 90s was like kind of famous for like the pan shot of the camera swooping over the computer terminals and like people typing things and getting data and doing science things and things like that. And there's absolutely no doubt that images like that imprint themselves on people and make them want to go into certain professions and pursue certain things in life, And so and I think like things more or less turned around the time that you had like Armageddon. Now Armageddon, if you remember this is on TV the other day, so it's like fresh in my mind. But this is the best example I can think of, because Armageddon was a huge hit when it came out. It made like millions of dollars at the box office. And Armageddon is a film where the scientists are suddenly portrayed as buffoons, as dumb, as obtuse. That's a movie where Bruce Willis and like his merry band of oil drillers, are the ones who are called to go and I don't know what they're going to do. They're like supposed to plant dynamite on this asteroid headed for Earth that's supposed to explode the whole, asteroid and send it all in different directions or something like that. And I know it's stupid, but the idea is that, Bruce Willis and the oil drillers, the roughnecks, they all know what's going on. They all have the solutions and the ideas. And every single time the scientists suggest something with their goofy glasses and their bald heads and their lab coats and everything, and their unzipped trousers, it's treated as a joke. The audience is supposed to laugh at them. Ha ha ha, you stupid scientist, And I think that may have been like the turning point that suddenly got people thinking in Hollywood, like, hey, people like it when dumb people are heroes. I think. So I don't know. I would like to get back to, though. I would like to get back to a time, though, when smart people are heroes again. When the first time you see your hero on screen, he's reading a book or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a snob. I don't know. I've been talking for a while, though. I'm going to put on some music here, but stick around. I'll be back in about 8 minutes. This is Mike Booty. It's the Midnight Citizen Show, live from Birmingham, Alabama. See you in a bit.
Got Marvin Gaye on the touchdown. Baby, this old town may be set in stone, but then give it up and get down. Go on and pass by the antiquities. I saw a thinner statue and I swear she winked. I want you to know, babe, that we'll be taking it slow. Hold me close in the street light, hand on your backside, bottle to your lips, and we're gonna have a good time. Oh, we'll die trying. Oh, baby, unforgotten soldier in the dozen more passed out on the train. I want you to know, babe, that it ain't under control, but it's cool in the autumn breeze, coffee between your teeth, just the kind of buzz you need to get you where you wanna be. Before we die trying, oh baby, today is ours for now and on. Oh, time the stars had us in mind. Today is ours for now and on. Oh, time the stars had us in mind. Today is ours for now and on. Oh, time the stars had us in mind. Today is ours for now and on. Oh, time the stars had us in mind.
Cashier at Walgreens tonight. It's weird. I went to Walgreens to pick up some antacid and a cup of soup. And I asked the cashier at Walgreens, just making conversation, "Hey, how's your night going?" And he says, "I'm amused." What? I'm amused. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm glad. And he said, oh, why? I said, no, I'm glad that you're amused. He's like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't tell me why. I didn't know what he was talking about. I think he had like a AirPod in his ear. Maybe he was like listening to a podcast. Maybe he was listening to the Midnight Citizen. I don't know. Probably not. He was probably listening to like the Joe Rogan Experience or something. I don't know. You know, it's like everywhere you go now, you ever notice how it's like I'm getting into my Andy Rooney now, but it just seems like everybody now is listening to AirPods. They've got AirPods in their ears like all the time now. That's how people are getting through their days of just like monotony. They've got to keep themselves entertained constantly. Now we got these AirPods. I used to like dream about something like this. Like when I was working at in retail all those years ago, I was like, man, it'd be so nice just to have something like a piece of like a seashell, like in Fahrenheit 451, something you just put in your ear and is so tiny that almost nobody sees it if they're not looking for it. And you could just like listen to other stuff and just be somewhere else, transported while you're filling out the monotonous purpose of your life. I don't know. Not the cashier had a monotonous purpose. You know what I mean. Standing there, being amused. But yes, welcome back to the Midnight Citizen Show. I got a banquet here. That was a nice music break there. You heard a couple songs there. First song was called Athens by Pierce Murphy. The second one was a nice little instrumental titled Your Eyes by Crowender. And as always, all the music that I play here on the Midnight Citizen Show is available over at the freemusicarchive.org. Wonderful archive of free Creative Commons music, completely free to use. Made possible by the WFMU station in New Jersey. And I do want to remind you, by the way, you can find this show as well as all past shows over at my website, mikebooty.com/The Midnight Citizen. You can also find it on the Overnightscape Underground, ONSUG, ONSUG.com. At YouTube.com/MikeBooty as well. I'm all over the place. What can I say? So crazy this week. I was teaching summer camp, and one of my groups that I had, they were very young kids, like first and second grade we're talking. You know how hard it is to work with kids like that. You know, and I know a lot of teachers will be just like, you know, keep them busy doing something, but I want them to learn something. I was teaching playwriting. I was had them creating scenes this week and improvising scenes, and you know, they weren't. It's not like they were coming out of there doing Glengarry Glen Ross or anything like that. But you know, we were having a fun time. All right. But one of the kids I was teaching, this first grade kid, this boy, he has like this tiger stuffed animal. And I'm not kidding you. This thing is a Hobbes. It's a Hobbes from Calvin and Hobbes. Let me see. I'm going to pull this up for all of my online listeners. See, this is when you wish that you were listening to the live or watching the live stream. I'm going to show it to you. Look at that. That is an honest-to-God Hobbes. And why am I freaking out about this? So it's from the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes, right? That was published in American newspapers from 1986 to 1996, when it was abruptly taken out, stopped running, because the comics creator, Bill Watterson, wanted to do other things with his life. You know, he wasn't like this Jim Davis or whoever writes Marmaduke. they really poured everything that they had, all their creative energy for 10 straight years. Bill Watterson did, into Calvin and Hobbes, and he just decided to stop doing it. He wanted to do other things. And this is the same thing that happened with Gary Larson of The Far Side. There are just some people who do these comic strips, and they're immensely popular, and people really love them, and then they just decide to stop doing them because they really want to make sure that they're great. And meanwhile, there are other comic strips that have been running since the 1920s, and they're never funny, but they're just mainstays, and I don't know what, But these are your Beetle Baileys and your Garfield, and I don't want to take anything away from Garfield. He was deeply important to me when I was a kid. Garfield was really more so than the Peanuts, the very first comic strip I ever read. But let's face it, he can only step in it so many times, and he can only dream about lasagna and hate Mondays so many times before you're just like, Garfield, get some new material, buddy. So, what made it so interesting, though, about this Hobbes is that it had to have been a black market Hobbes, because Bill Watterson was notorious for refusing any licensing of his stuff. And I know, because when I was 10 years old and madly obsessed with Calvin and Hobbes, I wanted a Hobbes. I wanted a stuffed tiger to go on adventures with and go exploring with, walk through the woods with my jacket on and talk about life and things like that. That's what Calvin and Hobbes is about. If this is completely escaping your knowledge. If you're far in the future and have no idea, or if you're in the past and have no idea what I'm talking about. Again, Calvin and Hobbes is the comic strip that ran from 1986 to 1996, and it was about a little boy and his his stuffed tiger, who he believed was real, named Hobbes. And I actually wrote a paper in college about the philosophical arguments of John Calvin and Thomas Hobbes translating into the comic strip. They walk around the woods and have philosophical conversations with each other. And Calvin is always imagining that the world is amazing, and he's thinking about all of his adventures. He's a very imaginative kid, and things are always just kind of blowing up in his face. I don't know. It's great. But this week, though, I saw this kid. He had a Hobbes with him, and it was tough because I couldn't explain to him the fact that, hey, man, where'd you get this thing? It's illegal. You can't have this. I don't know. I just honestly think his parents must have found one. Somebody probably made it or something and sold it on eBay. I don't know. Just driving around the suburbs today, and every single church is now advertising their own summer camps, and these are called vacation Bible schools. They're never called summer camps. They're called vacation Bible schools. I don't know when this whole phenomenon of VBS started up, where during the summer you have kids come to these summer programs where they go and learn about Jesus and things and all that. But I did it when I was a kid. I went to vacation Bible school. I had no idea what was going on because it was summer, and for some reason I had to go not to school but to church. And my church when I was a little kid was actually right by my school, and so I hated it. And it was so weird that we went there, and we only went for 4 hours during the morning for a week. And so I was very deeply confused by vacation Bible school growing up. But essentially what it is you go there and you wait outside the church with all of your friends and everybody, that goes to the church with you. And they open the doors and you go in and you have kind of like a big group meeting where the counselors kind of have you get up and sing a bunch of songs and You know, like, there ain't no fleas on me, there ain't no fleas on me. There might be flies on some of you guys, but there ain't no fleas on me or something. And, you know, you sing all those songs, and then you go into breakout groups where you do, like, you know, things like Bible study, and you do, like, interactive activities. Like, I remember making, like, a mud brick, like they would have made in, like, Jesus times or something. And I don't know if this is like just a Southern thing or something, but every vacation Bible, every school now, every church has a vacation Bible school now. Yeah. And I every time I think of vacation Bible school, even though I went for many years until I was like I think maybe in the 7th grade or something, and then I started being a counselor at vacation Bible school. Is probably the first year I ever went, because we had this old man, Mr. Veazey, would come by in his pickup truck, and he would give us a butterscotch candy, and we would get in the back of the pickup truck, the bed of the pickup truck, and drive. He would drive like 70 miles an hour down the tiny little 2-lane blacktop country road, which was probably very dangerous because he had a lot of stops to make. He would pick up all the kids for vacation Bible school, and he would bring us to the church, right? And we would go there, and inside of the auditorium, again, we would have our counselor, and I remember her name was Carla because she frequently babysat me. And I respected Carla, and I looked up to her, and she taught me the song. And we all sang the song, "Do Your Ears Hang Low." Now, you know this song. You know, what are the exact lyrics? Let me remember them here. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie 'em in a knot? Can you tie 'em in a bow? Can you throw 'em over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? And this is very odd because I was like, we're in church and we're talking about continental soldiers. I don't understand that. Do your ears stand high? Do they reach up to the sky? Do they droop when they are wet? Do they stiffen when they're dry? Can you wave them at your neighbor with an element of flavor? Do your ears stand high? And I just thought that was so funny, this idea of somebody just having these really long ears that they could like tie in a bow and all that. We all laughed and everything. Yeah, so earlier this year I found out that was actually quite a that was actually started, as all great kids songs do, as a very dirty song that troops would sing around the campfire at night while they were waiting to go into battle. The origin of this song, I'm reading from Wikipedia. The origin of this song is most likely George Washington Dixon's, oh gosh, that's probably a pretty racist term. I don't know if I should say that. Penned in 1838. Variant versions with vulgar lyrics include "Do your balls hang low" and "Do your boobs hang low." Some authors regard these as parody versions of the campfire song, but according to folklorists, the evidence strongly suggests that "Do Your Balls Hang Low" came first. I mean, that makes a lot more sense, right? Because it's like, why ears? You know, it would make a lot more sense if you're talking about your balls. So there we were in church, a bunch of 6-year-olds singing about balls. And with that, let's go. Yes, we're going to take a trip down to the Video Street video store on the corner and check out what they've got there. They've got some new stock. Enjoy this, and I will be back in just a minute.
Wird ja wahrscheinlich nicht so toll werden hier.
Kommt noch was Neues für euch raus oder nicht? Ich glaube, im Moment kommt nichts Neues raus.
Zurich, 23, Citibank.
This is just one of Citicorp's nerve centers, its foreign exchange room. Each day, it moves $1.5 billion in currencies from 30 different countries.
Basically, what we do is we buy and sell currencies against the dollar. We do it both for our own account and for the account of our customers. The key feature here is speed, trying to follow what's going on in the international markets so that we can anticipate and catch trends as they occur.
At Citicorp, nuances, subtle changes in the flow of information are crucial. And that's also true at Exxon, Lloyd's of London, General Motors, Sony. Fortunes are made or lost because of information, or the lack of it.
Okay, one moment. Cable, Dresdner, Frankfurt.
Somebody asked me, what in fact do you do? And I realized that I spent most of my time on the phone, and in order to make people think I was professional, I had to figure out what it was I did. So what I realized was that I sat there and I listened. I listened and I transmitted and I analyzed. There's a little bit of detective work. When you hear a little piece of information coming across the Dow Jones tape, and you see a little bit of selling or buying in one of the exchange markets, and you see what's happening in the money markets, you suddenly put them together and you say, damn it, that's what's happening. We are computer-oriented in terms of getting communication and being up to speed. It's as quick as I can move. And I may not be that fast or that slow, but it's as quick as I can move. The rates move more quickly than anybody can follow. It's not a question of minutes or even hours, it's second to second.
It could be there 1 minute, he said change next minute, so you have to get the change in right away. So if you don't, and they get you, then you lose the money.
91.6.
Sock Gen, New York, dollar Paris, and 22.
Communications. Everything here is dedicated to communication. Every single piece of electronic gear. We try to catch trends, to identify them, to put the information together and come up with what we think will happen in the exchange markets. There is, in fact, an information society, for sure. In fact, the entire foreign exchange market is based on information.
What a bank has for sale is information, and this has always been true. Rothschild made a fortune by owning carrier pigeons that brought the news of the Battle of Waterloo to the City of London. And so he had that information prior to anyone else.
This is pretty much what you would expect. Not special, just acceptable. Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita are once again karate student and teacher, as Macchio reluctantly ends up doing battle to defend his championship. The big symbol of Macchio's struggle is a perfect little bonsai tree that becomes part of a blackmail attempt to get Macchio to fight again. He'd rather lead a peaceful life with his girlfriend, but some bad guys are spoiling for a fight.
What's up? What do you give me? Hey, I already gave you the application. Come on. Yeah, the stakes just went up. Give me the tree.
Daniel, don't.
No! Shut up! All right, all right. Just hold us. Don't let go. Here. Now, please be careful with it. Please be careful.
And the bad guys break the tree, which breaks Macchio's spirit until the tree is mended by Pat Morita.
Hey, look at that. It's going to make it, huh?
Hey, make it because have strong root. Just like you, Danielson.
The most interesting confrontation in the film is between Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, and a sleazy businessman with a ponytail and a mean karate kick, well played by Thomas Ian Griffith.
Come on. Miyagi, you really are.
That Thomas Ian Griffith nearly saves the movie. He's a terrific villain. But I had a problem this time with Ralph Macchio's lead character of Daniel. Macchio plays him so relentlessly upbeat that the character loses the credibility of the first film. Pat Morita is fine, but then Macchio's girlfriend seems like a dunce. For everything that I liked about this picture, there was something I didn't like. Again, it's not a bad film, just not special enough for me to recommend.
Well, of course, the original Karate Kid was an excellent picture.
I think so.
Very entertaining, very intelligent. However, I've seen it, and I don't need to see it again. I don't need to see it a third time. There was nothing in this movie that is fresh or original.
Except the villain. You'll acknowledge that.
Oh, well, they have a new villain. They bring in
I thought that guy was pretty scary.
But they also had the same old villain, that guy
Yeah.
that keeps running the bankrupt karate studio. He's back again. Gee, I'm back in business. Here I am again.
Yeah, small
Here's
role.
another thing that bothers me. In all of these movies, Mr. Morita is the most interesting character.
Mr.
And he is
Miyagi, yeah.
Mr. Miyagi.
Right.
He is, so in the scene I can almost remember his name.
Yeah, I know.
He is a nonviolent person who has a Zen outlook on life and who believes that you turn things over and you don't rise to anger and so forth. Wouldn't it be fun just once if he were able to resolve the problem in one of these movies using his approach? Because the movies all end, they're directed by the man who directed the first Rocky, and they all end with a big fight. And Mr. Miyagi always essentially says, oh, you're right, my approach doesn't work. I'm going to beat the stuffing out of you, and that's the solution to the problem. And then after somebody is practically killed at the end of the film, then it's over. These movies pay lip service to nonviolence, and then they just turn into another blood feast.
That would be a twist. That would be another way to make the story fresh. I thought what you were going to say is that you would like to see the movie be not about the Karate Kid, but about the Karate Adult. I would be interested in seeing him be the real center character.
Well, he has a scene in this movie where he does go in and he's able to defeat everyone, of course, there's superior karate, but how about, you know, really taking the nonviolence seriously?
That would be a nice change. You know what I'm referring to when I talk about him being so upbeat that it gets a little bit oppressive at times, this little guy?
One-note performance, yeah. Coming up next, Dennis Quaid plays rock and roll legend Jerry Lee Lewis in Great Balls of Fire.
Harsh words for Daniel LaRusso. Welcome back into the Midnight Citizen studio here on a Saturday night. I hope you're doing all right. It is officially midnight now here in the Central Standard Time Zone. And we just came back from the Video Street Video Store. I hope you enjoyed that little trip there. I know I did. So we had there some interesting video from the 1980s. We had just some documentary footage of Wall Street traders in the 1980s. I don't know. I find that interesting. I went through this phase in the last year when I wasn't doing shows where I was listening and reading a lot of Michael Lewis books. Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball and always like The Big Short, likes to write about kind of stock market behind the scenes books. I don't know. It's fascinating to me because I know it's like not a culture that I'll ever be involved in. I'll never be a Wall Street trader. I'll never be somebody who makes it their job and their living to watch other people's money. So therefore I can really enjoy it like on an entertainment basis. Almost like it's fiction, right? But it's not fiction, of course. I know that the people who are in charge of the world's money supply really treat money as if it's some kind of, I don't know, just disposable confetti. It's really more of an ego trip, and I know. And then, of course, we had Siskel and Ebert reviewing The Karate Kid Part 3. I believe that was from 1989. I think that was when that came out. With the 2 thumbs down decision. Even though it was a close call for Siskel. I'll come back to that for in a minute. But for now, I got to bring something up. This is interesting. So there's a... something very Old Testament happened this week, and I just saw this tonight. I was completely inside, a lobster diver says, after being swallowed by a humpback whale. Veteran lobster diver Michael Packard entered the water for his second dive of the day off of his vessel. It was a balmy 60 degrees. I don't know why newspapers always have to tell you what the weather was like. Just you know. Anyway. Okay. In something truly biblical, Packard was swallowed whole by a humpback whale. All of a sudden, he says, I felt this huge shove, and the next thing I knew, it was completely black. Packard recalled Friday afternoon following his release from Cape Cod Hospital in Hyannis. I could sense that I was moving, and I could feel the whale squeezing with the muscles in his mouth. Initially, Packard thought he was inside a great white shark, but he couldn't feel any teeth and he hadn't suffered any obvious wounds. It quickly dawned on him that he had been swallowed by a whale. I was completely inside. It was completely black. I thought to myself, there's no way I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I'm dead. All I could think of was my boys. They're 12 and 15. I don't know why I automatically gave him a southern accent just now. It just seems like that's something that somebody from the South would do, just get swallowed by a whale. Yeah, so somehow, and there's a picture of him there. He's laying in his hospital bed with a ton of patches on him. He's giving a thumbs up, which that's what you do after you get swallowed by a whale. Yeah. And, again, when I was in Vacation Bible School, we learned about Jonah and the whale. And we always thought of it as a parable. Of course, the Old Testament is full of these things that how else can you take these things as parables? How else can you take like the idea in the Old Testament of a man spending time inside of a great fish, or Moses parting the Red Sea in Exodus? Like, how can you take those as anything but parables? But, of course, there are people who insist that they actually happened, as the Bible said. So, but, and I also, when I was a kid, had this idea of, like, the movie Pinocchio, where, like, Geppetto is sitting inside of this great humpback whale. And he's there, and he's, like, lighting a fire, like a bonfire, and he's, like, camping out inside the mouth of this whale. But apparently, according to this guy, this Michael Packard, it's just blackness, and there's not a whole lot of room to move, inside of this great whale. And yes, I know in whatever it's called, it's a great fish in the Old Testament. Fine. But I don't know if you caught that, though, at the Video Street Video Store. You saw or you heard Gene Siskel saying it would be an interesting twist on the Karate Kid franchise that they would focus on the karate adult. How fascinating, right? Of course, if you're familiar, there is a show called Cobra Kai. It's come out now. It's been on for 3 seasons. It's a big hit. About an adult, Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid, now is an adult, the karate adult. And it's a very fascinating show because they essentially imagine what would happen if Daniel LaRusso, gifted with all of the mentorship of Mr. Miyagi, grew up and learned to be and became a father and used his teachings at karate and nonviolence and Zen to rule his life. So that's very interesting. I have seen the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai. I have not seen the third. I hear it's very good. That's all I'll say. I will not spend the rest of this episode of the Midnight Citizen going into Cobra Kai. But yes. But Gene Siskel was a genius, though, because he did something that, his companion, his partner across the aisle, Roger Ebert, always made fun of him for. He said, like, Gene, it's your job to watch the film, not rewrite it as you're watching it. Don't talk about the movie you wanted to see. Talk about the movie that you did see. But that's what I do when I go to the movies. I go to movies because I'm a creative person, and I like writing things, and I like thinking about things. I like it, personally, when I'm sitting there in the movie theater, and especially if the movie's bad, I will sit there and I will think about what would make this film better. I do that all the time with movies. I did that in Titanic. No, I didn't really do that in Titanic, but But that's what Gene Siskel always liked to do. He always liked to talk about like what an interesting twist on the film would have been. And I think I did an entire episode about this a couple of years ago. It's called The Genius of Gene Siskel. I can't remember the episode title, or the episode number, excuse me. The episode's called The Genius of Gene Siskel, but I talked about this on the show. Maybe not for the whole episode, but I remember talking about Gene Siskel and how he actually predicted a number of films before they were made, almost to the point where I'm kind of pretty sure that Hollywood screenwriters were essentially taking his ideas and pitching them to studios and making all this money, not giving anything back to Gene Siskel. And they also knew that Gene Siskel was guaranteed to like them, more or less. So anyway, but I will find that episode and I will link it in the show notes for this episode. But that is all the time that we have for tonight's episode of the Midnight Citizen Show. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. If you're watching live, I hope that you're just having a great psychedelic good time. Every week on this show, I make a promise to myself to say something I've never said before. I've never said the line, I hope you've had a psychedelic good time. And there I go. I've said it twice. But once again, just a reminder, you can catch this episode as well as all future episodes over at MikeBooty.com/TheMidnightCitizen. You can also watch this episode live streamed over at YouTube.com/MikeBooty. It will be there along with other past live streamed episodes. And you can download the show on the Overnightscape Underground, ONSUG.com, as well as Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, wherever podcasts are downloaded for free. And if you feel like donating a little bit, that's nice, thank you. I don't have a way for you to do that, but I appreciate the gesture. Swallowed by a whale while diving for lobsters. Keep your eyes open.